I'm Mike Gordon, and welcome back to my perfect playthrough of the Contra Anniversary Collection for the Nintendo Switch. And after clearing through the NES and Game Boy Contra games, I'm finally ready to take on the Super Nintendo exclusive Contra III: The Alien Wars. After being defeated countless times by the Contra, the Red Falcon mobilized its entire army for a full-scale invasion of Earth. Outnumbered and technologically surpassed, humanity was powerless to resist against the alien forces. Earth was decimated by the Red Falcon in less than a year, and humanity suffers under its oppression. However, all hope is not lost. Two soldiers walk the desolate streets of a city reduced to rubble. The flames of vengeance burn their eyes with guns ready to be fired at any alien in sight. The aliens are back to free mankind and crush the Red Falcon once and for all. And by once and for all, I mean until the franchise well finally dries up, but again, we haven't had a real Contra game in years. So, yeah. And from this moment onward, we are not going to be... Love that jingle. It's no longer going to be just about beating the game anymore. AD 2636. Yeah, so our objective for this game isn't just to beat the game, but to beat the game on the hardest difficulty setting. In fact, it is the only way the game will acknowledge you ever beating this game is by beating it on the hardest difficulty setting. Otherwise, they'll just beat you back to the beginning of the game and jack the difficulty up. The Aliens Wars begin. It's time for revenge. Let's attack aggressively. Yeah. Contra III: The Alien Wars. A lot of people's favorite Contra game. And ironically enough, it's probably my least favorite because, well, we could jack up the number of lives just fine. We do have to beat the game on the hardest setting. And let me tell you something. This game's definition of a harder difficulty setting versus easy and hard is just fill the screen up with as many enemies as humanly possible. And also make bosses into absolute damage sponges. And oh yeah, the enemies respawn infinitely. Pretty much. There are other tricks this game pulls off to try to make be considered harder than easy or normal. And yeah, you feel the difficulty, but also kind of feels contrived. Like, there's really no reason why you have to beat this game on the hardest difficulties, because this game, other than, oh yeah, the game is the game is probably the easiest Contra game on easy. Jump over the dog. Always be sure to jump over the dog, but it's kind of very tricky to do that because you have to watch out for any oncoming enemies. And like as soon as you move in a little centimeter, they swarm right in. And already I killed enough enemies to warrant an extra life. Unfortunately, the swarms are the most dangerous parts about Contra III: The Alien Wars. So you're going to be overly reliant on spread shots and the homing gun. Oh, I love this little callback to the original Contra on NES and arcade. Have to take out the turrets and then the gun itself. Fortunately, the enemies keep swarming behind you infinitely until you are ready to proceed. I will actually say this is pretty great about this game is that it actually has lots of callbacks to the earlier Contra titles, to what came before it, and use that as build up to what is going to be new with this title. You get a similar experience with Super Castlevania 4 as well, Lots of callbacks to the first Castlevania game in order to set up the new changes going forward. Basically, to emphasize just how mind-blowing this game really is. So, it is my least favorite Contra game in this collection, outside of the arcade games. It is my least favorite. But as far as the mainline entries go, it is my least favorite Contra game in this collection. However, it's not... See, I probably should have grabbed the laser, but because it's... I imagine, if I had a better understanding of Contra mechanics, like Contra 3, knowing when to swap out my guns, what guns to swap out for which one of the new ones I would get, not only would I be able to beat this game a hell of a lot faster, I probably would kick a lot of ass and be singing a different tune as well. But as is, this game can be extremely punishing, and the best way to make this job as easy as possible is to just stick with the spread shot and the homing gun as much as possible. And oh yeah, store up on the bombs until you absolutely need to use them. Jump over the... we want to jump over the sputtering flames. Come on, let's go. And just take your time this part. You cannot kill those flames because, well, they're just flames. Alright. This probably meant to just spam the bombs here, but there are sections later in the game where you want to hold on to those bombs in case of emergencies. So the objective for this first boss, this lava mix of Lavos and a turtle, the head itself is really just meant to draw in ammo from the homing gun. And I believe the intent is to use the laser here to take out that core underneath, because that's the main target. Because the head is there and it's just gonna draw in the homing missiles, no matter what, I'm just going to rely on the spread shot. This will result in a much longer boss fight, but it is the best strategy that I've got. Maybe someday I'll revisit this game proper and give it a proper thorough beatdown. Once I have a better understanding of this game, but that's assuming that there will be more perfect playthroughs after this. But as is, I need to work on my other perfect playthroughs, so I'm just gonna take what I've already got. I already got myself another extra life. By the way, when he's charging up a laser, make sure he aims for the middle section and to get up above him. Because the heart you're trying to hit, it will also still be shooting towards you, and there's no way to defend against if you're underneath the laser. But anyways, it doesn't matter because we took him out super quickly. So with that out of the way, it's now time to take on the next level. And our first of two top-down scrolling levels. It's kind of funny that they add these in and they only include them like twice per game, starting with Super C. Now, these guys are really, really annoying because they will not come out of their little hiding spot until you decide to look away. Use the missile because I wanted to. That's a laser. Again, on the higher difficulty settings, these guys are anything that's not a generic enemy a generic fodder enemy that you need to take out becomes an absolute damage sponge. And even a few fodder enemies like the centipede becomes a damage sponge. And that is a problem. Because that means the game fully expects you to fully optimize your guns, and sometimes you can't really optimize for everything. So this guy does not actually shrink away when you look towards him, but only when you get far enough away from it. So it does seem like it varies depending on the enemy. Which of these main peepholes will open up. And they just keep respawning, spawning. And there we go, they popped up behind us. Will they respawn here again? I hope not. Side note, wanna know how you can tell this game is hard? It's when I spam a shit ton. It's when I spam a shit ton of save states. That's not always the case. Sometimes I go quite a while without using save states, but like I just killed that centipede already at respawned because I moved too far enough away, and the RNG decided, yeah, we're gonna. Come on, fuck me. Luckily, they can't shoot past walls or elevations themselves, so the AI is very much susceptible to the rules of the game as we are. So it's not totally cheap, but I do think they have to contrive a few things to make the game way harder than it probably should be. And it's kind of weird. This is the only Contra game with a built-in difficulty setting that you can make adjustments for. Like, technically the NES games will increase the difficulty setting with each subsequent playthrough. But otherwise, you basically play till you drop. Or until you've beaten the game proper. Alright, come on. We're done with the stupid centipedes, please. Just let... This guy, I think his thing... He doesn't pop out when an enemy's on screen, and then he pops up periodically when it's just the two of us. And our objective is to clear out all of these peepholes in order to be summoned into the boss arena. And this guy's thing is obviously to spin around and attack everything in sight. Not quite sure what keeps him on the field, though, versus what causes his retreat. Alright, that was the last one. Ooh, barely made it. I caught the last of the missiles. And now for the boss. Alright, there's two of these top-down bosses. The first one's not too bad, but yeah, you want to aim for the like the side pods first, followed by the laser, and then the red boss. Most bosses in Contra 3 kind of has a specific sequence that the game expects you to complete. And here it's absolutely essential that you rely on the spreader. It does a bit more damage and it hits a wider and it can hit multiple targets at once. The laser's destroyed, and I think the destruction of the laser causes, it causes the AI's script to change when you take out the laser before taking out the little pods. Because now it spins around, and sometimes they'll even jump up off the field and try to squish you. Especially once the last pod it's destroyed. You have to destroy all the pods in the laser before taking out the red eye, because the red eye is the main target. Alright, there are no more of those pods. The pods do shoot out little projectiles at you. Oops. I want to try to take out the red balloon with the spread shot. I feel it would be more efficient than using the homing missiles. All I can do is keep moving so you can hopefully get out of the way from where he decides to land. And we beat the boss. The second of these top-down bosses is the worst boss of the game, though, and is probably the chief reason this is my least favorite Contra game. But otherwise, that is another level in the books. Look at Arnold and Sly together. Again, it is absolutely amazing that we never got a Contra movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone in the 90s. Alright, we got an upgrade to our spread shot. Alright. Alright. Taking all these save states because this section can be pretty insane in terms of difficulty. Again, generally speaking, the hardest parts of this game are the swarms. And that enemies are literally waiting for you off screen here, off screen there, off screen everywhere. Probably should grab the laser here because the laser can tear through bosses pretty quickly. And I could probably have swapped out the homing missile in hindsight. Yes, I should know. Now, I was about to use Stay here because I'm being swarmed by enemies here that are impossible to avoid. But they basically just focus on grabbing. So just jump. And fire on his directions while making your way to this side. Alright, this is definitely something where the homing gun would be considered useful. But guess what? So too with the laser, because now it will home into the red button and deal damage towards them no matter what. Obviously, you want to avoid that drill thing up top, like the plague. But honestly, in hindsight, I think I was better off just swapping out the homing gun for the laser so I could deal maximum damage. But, well, took this guy down. He's just a sub-boss in a level that's gonna be chock full of sub-bosses. I don't know what the C does. Oh, right, I remember what the C does. It's a shitty weapon. Don't grab it. I think I made the mistake in thinking, oh, I can attack this thing or maybe attack the legs. No. The save states were there because I was wondering why I wasn't doing anything. All you can really do is stay in the middle and avoid the missiles. Honestly, this is the easy part. So long as you remember to keep moving up, just tiptoe up and out. Ooh, I see those little lines that tells me that we're about to enter a boss arena. Yep, I knew it. Now the laser would be a huge help here. Now all you can really do for now is dodge the eye in the middle, just keep a watch out for eye here. Eventually let's go back and forth for a bit, maybe stick it out. Try to psych you out. Your objective is to fire into that eye in the middle. Again, a spread shot is the best weapon used in this case because aim gun doesn't really aim for the eye very well. And we got ourselves yet another extra life. Honestly, we should just keep on moving up. Dodge, dodge, dodge. And we lost the laser again. Luckily, we don't actually need the laser for this next boss. Well, next sub-boss or the next boss, so yeah. It actually reminds me of one of the bosses from Operation C, except you can't actually hit it yet. Now you can. Spawns an infinite supply of enemies until you kill it by hitting it in the eye. And I didn't know I had killed it quite yet. Right now he's invincible only because the eye is closed. Oh, yeah, now I killed him. By the way, barriers are always great to have. Same for missiles. Barriers, you can just tank hits. Now my barrier's out, I decide to do a little save state because this section can be pretty difficult. Anything where you have to scroll up and do a lot of tricky platform while scrolling up is dangerous. Especially since enemies do not pop up off screen until you get close enough where they would spawn in. And these enemies will spawn infinitely. Because this is a really awkward place, I want to do some save states. Again, whenever I use a bunch of save states, that's when you know that I've struggled a ton. Or when I'm tempting to use another save state. It's because this is a really a tough spot that I've been struggling with, and that's why I keep using save states super quickly. But if I go through a long period, it's mostly because sometimes it's for safety, not because it's hard, but other times it's mostly because if I'm not struggling, it's because I made it far. So for this boss, this is a boss in 3 phases. You want to climb up to the ceiling once the brown robot gets too close to the wall in order to get him off, and because the brown robot will actively try and follow you, while the blue robot will stay in the middle and shoot whatever side of the field you happen to be on. Actually, you didn't even adjust his trajectory yet. So yeah, I used the bomb in order to be rid of myself of the brown robot, and now I can safely take out the blue robot from up there. And that's the end of phase 1 of this boss. Now we have to face a giant robot. And it took me some time, but I figured out a sequence on how I could best do this. You want to hang on to the far right wall. Once he fires those laser homing bullets, you want to circle the arena and drop down from the ceiling, just above to the right of his head. You fire a few rounds of the spread shot on the left wall. Once he plants those mines, make your way to the right wall. Rinse, repeat. Use safeties. If you're playing the Anniversary Collection, be sure to use those safety net save states. I mean, that's why they provide them for us. Side note, there is no rewind in this collection. This is a pure limited run games version of this collection, so there's no that Konami gave permission for. Konami did not actually make this collection. This was put together by Limited Run Games via a second party. But Konami gave it the A-OK. And just like, well, we've defeated this boss. Wasn't too tough, didn't take too long, but maybe if I had the laser. But in hindsight, I do think it's a good thing I don't have the laser because, this is gonna be where it gets insanely hard. Just jump, 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 stay to the back, and jump, jump, jump to avoid those bombs. Extra life. Just shoot down these guys as they show up. Be ready to swerve back and forth. Swerve and jump. Now that that tank's there, you just want to be sure to jump as he fires missiles. Yes, you will be able to blow up the missiles by firing towards this general direction, but alright. This whole level's on rails. Unfortunately, you cannot destroy, as far as I know, you cannot destroy those lasers. So, tough shit. But we can take out those little guns. And this section is extremely frantic. You want to make sure that he's retracted before passing him by. And now we want to take out these guys as they come out, but the main objective is the black soldier that we need to shoot. He's technically the sub-boss of this section. All the red guys are just minions that will spawn in infinitely until the black guy dies. Alright, he's dead, so now we get to move on. More indestructible lasers. Well, they're like electric lasers. But come on, they behave the same way as lasers, fundamentally. So it might as well just be the same difference. Alright. We just had to back away because he was gonna shoot out a cannon, but and now that big ship is actually the main boss of this level, but we won't be able to worry about him for quite some time. Here's another sub-boss. Anybody who's played Gunstar Heroes or remembers my perfect playthrough of Gunstar Heroes, not a lot of people did because they haven't watched it. This definitely reminds me of Gunstar Heroes, but luckily it doesn't matter which side of the arena you're on, because so long as you hit the main boss, you can deal damage against him. So why swerve back and forth when he jumps up? Well, because we also need to be able to, we need to be able to, we don't want to get cornered. Let's just put that way. Alright. It looks like... Yeah, I don't know why it took me so long, but yeah, I swapped it to the homing missiles because it seemed like the spread shot wasn't doing anything. Basically, hopped right on the chopper. Believe it or not, this is not where the boss fight commences, but yeah, no, there's sub-boss. Just one string of sub-bosses after another. And yeah, all I need to do is sit in the middle, be right once he gets up there, just beware, jump over his boomerang, and just hit him with spread shot, he's dead. And now this is where the real fun begins. Because this boss is gonna be absolutely, I'm gonna just say this right. This is actually a really, really awesome setup for a boss, and there's some interesting details behind the inspiration for this in the bonus books and whatnot. That basic with the interviews that come with this collection and whatnot. That is worth interesting. But this game, I'm just gonna say it, really awesome setup, but really, really frustrating. And I honestly don't really know what weapon I would recommend using here because I think, oh, the homing missiles would be good, but no, those missiles ensure that's not possible. Ultimately, your objective, you need to clear out that force field so we can access that red button in the middle. But not only do you have to move away from the thing before it rams in, from the missiles before it rams into the boss, you also have to watch out for projectiles. Be ready to jump. Alright, I decided... So don't be afraid to rely on the bombs at times in this boss fight because it is extremely hard to hit anything here. At least I took care of one of the two gates for this force field. But yeah, if you're in a comparable position, don't be afraid to use a bomb. At least we clear both those out. Now we can aim our efforts on the red button in the middle. But we're still not out of the woods yet because we have those fire plummages to worry about now. But on the bright side, not only do we no longer have to worry about the missiles, but with no other targets left for us to hit, we can just switch to the homing missiles. Is it more efficient? I don't think so. It seems like homing missiles barely do any damage on the hardest difficulty sites. Like, every time I have to choose between the spread shot and the homing missile, spread shot does way more damage. And no, I did not use the bomb. That's just like a cutscene thing. So, that was not a waste of resources. That's just the end of the boss. But that isn't my least favorite boss of the game, this upcoming one. So where should I start? Probably right there, right next to one of those gate things. I thought I pressed pause by mistake. So luckily this time we don't have to worry about trying to get the pods to open and close, but there are still some other shenanigans we have to worry about. Mainly, there's basically no obstacles that will deter enemies from firing projectiles at us if they have any. Also have those moving sands. I can take out these antlion nests. A bit of a chore. But believe it or not, this isn't the worst part about this level. This is the second of 2 top-down levels, so we definitely know it's the boss. This is the worst thing about Contra 3. So you just have to hurry up across the bridge before it breaks. Oh wait, it has... Oh, never mind, it does have to open. Anyways, it took out the antlion nest. Or at least it was something we already had, so we don't have to worry about that. Freaking centipedes. Oh, it's fire centipedes and they break apart this time. Great. So basically, just follow where the arrows are pointing to, because that leads to the next antlion nest. Once you kill them all, the arrows will fill all 4 sides of the screen, and you will be transported to the boss arena. Oh, I'm gonna pull an angry video game nerd and ask, what's wrong with Arnold Braunschneider's right arm? But okay, we already started the boss fight, and you're not gonna see the true problem with this boss quite yet, but you already can probably tell a little bit based on what this arena entails. Unlike before, it's not an endlessly long ring, and there's sand in the middle that's clearly meant to move, but hasn't started moving yet. And that is going to be the main reason why this boss is the worst thing about Contra 3. It single-handedly makes this my least favorite title in this collection. So I am literally using the spread shot because, like all the other bosses, there's some bullshit that makes the homing missiles functionally useless. At least in this phase. But wait, there's more. Because of what's about to transpire, you basically are going to have no other choice but to overly rely on the homing missiles. But right now I'm just in the groove, so to speak, so I'm just going up close, dealing as much damage as I. The arm right now only really functions to act as a damage sponge to absorb hits from the enemy, so I'm just going to spin around. But trust me, at this, you gotta start getting used to this method of fighting as we enter phase 2, because I'm gonna speed this up because this took me like 20 minutes to beat this guy. So once the phase commences, I'm just gonna speed this section up because it is obnoxious. Absolutely freaking obnoxious. So I'm just trying to... Oh yeah, I forgot to mention it. I think you have to press the either. Alright, here it is. Now, I'm just speeding this up along because we have to be in this stupid spinning sand to have any chance at hitting the eye at the center of Lavos here. You can't aim, so you have to rely on the homing missiles. And those arms will continuously draw fire. And oh yeah, not only you have to avoid the arms, you have to avoid the pillar fire. And you can't allow yourself to get sucked into the boss or you'll die. This is the worst moment in this entire game. And it is so monotonous. Like, I'm not even saying it's the hardest boss of the game, I'm saying it's the worst boss of the game. And it's and this bullshit, like, oh, just grab another gun. There is no better gun! I'm using the spread shot, hoping for the best. And I'm using the only, but oh, the arms just... Oh, well, lasers! Well, the lasers will have the same problem as the spread shot. You can't aim if you can't stay still. Like, I can slow it. Maybe if I fidget a bit, I can slow down the spinning a bit, but you can't. But there's no way to be at a standstill so you can aim for the boss's weak spot. So I'm using this weapon that's only guaranteed to do like 1 point per damage, and this guy is a damage sponge. And keep in mind, I have to beat this game on the hardest difficulty setting, which means he takes way more hits than he otherwise would on easy or normal. Pretty much the one thing I probably should have been doing more often is using the bombs once I get close to him. Why am I not using the bombs? Honestly, I think it's because I got a little too comfortable. But it's gonna cost me because I guarantee I probably would have not have to worry about taking a death if I just used the freaking bombs. At 5, that should be plenty, more than enough. I'll probably have to end up death abusing a crap ton of times in the final level anyways just to respawn a bomb. Our inventory. Downside is that dying costs us one of our 2 guns. So here I am, I'm actively trying to swap weapons. Try to see what works. And I survived that. So I don't even know what else to say, because this is taking a really long time. The arm's not letting me get to the boss at all. But anyways, I look like I got in a groove where I can get close enough to a straight line. And I think, yeah, that was my big mistake. I use a save state when I'm that close to the boss. I use like loaded up a billion states at that point, and I just eventually threw in the towel. I'm stuck with the homing missiles, and I need to get my spread shot back because it's far more valuable than the homing missiles in against most bosses. Alright, we got 2 bombs. Fortunately, that's it. No new guns, no spread shot. Yeah, that horrifically wretched boss fight is done. Now the final level. Yes, only 6 levels this time instead of 8. By the way, the game would already be over if we were playing on the easy mode, as the game will tell us to try again on a hard difficulty setting. Alright, got our spread shot back. Okay. Oh, and best part is it's fully charged up again, so it's firing 5 directions instead of 3. And this is yet another callback to the original Contra. Not that they tweaked the design so they don't look like one-for-one xenomorphs or facehuggers anymore. Check out these mouths in the wall. Yeah, those enemies would have originally been xenomorphs, but obviously they can't have them look exactly like xenomorphs because that would be copyright infringement. Using a bomb out of necessity now. And we are about to face off against a beating heart, which is yet another callback to the first Contra. And all the face huggers are just spawning out infinitely. And just like that, we used up the last of our bombs. But at least we took out one of the 2 egg sacs on the bottom. It's really more like egg buds, I suppose. Alright, we took out all the ones on the down below, so I can just focus on what's above my head. Fortunately, I still need to take out the heart. Okay. Much more manageable now. I ain't the final boss. And we just had ourselves a little callback to the very first laser. Probably could have used that, but honestly, I'm basically just gonna rely on death abuses the rest of the way. So this is a callback to Super C on NES. Which itself is also a tribute to Prometheus. I realized there is a way to jump over that laser, so I don't have to death abuse anymore. At least I don't have to think, oh, I just need to use the holy missiles anymore. I can just focus on using the spread shot, and it should probably deal a ton of damage. And yeah, we just need a... Whoa! Alright, took him out. But now... yeah, this is kind of a crummy one. Luckily, this is by far the easiest of these bosses. And I think this is supposed to be like a callback to Operation C. Remember, Operation C was originally going to be the third Contra game. And it technically is. But would have been the Contra 3 more or less, while the SNES game would have been called Super Contra 4. However, Konami decided to change their mind and call this Contra 3, even though Operation C came out first. Anyways, I don't have to worry about Death Abusing here because he's very easy to telegraph. Barely rely on save states other than for safety reasons. And he's still taking quite a bit of damage, but I think its problem is that his tail is blocking most of my shots. Since his weak spot is the head, but I don't know, I still managed to kill him. And that stands for Flamethrower. Objective here, we want to take out those arm things first. We took the first one out, so now we can just focus our efforts on taking out the second arm. Alright, now that he's dead, we can focus our efforts on the head. This time we only have to worry about taking, and this is definitely a callback to Contra 2 for the arcade, as he was meant to be the final boss of that game. Except this time we only have to worry about the left or right membranes, just the arms and then the head. Looky here, we got ourselves an extra life! Eventually, I'm going to take, yeah. So whenever you don't actively die, but try, but death abuse, if you have to. Especially if you're running strong bombs because you took an unnecessary death and used a save state when it was too late. So, for this phase, we wanna hit the side where we can deal the most damage. So that red option's pretty good. Another extra life. And we didn't take a death at all. Okay. So, alright, this is had we had a bomb, this probably would be the best one, but it's still a pretty good one to have. Our objective, hit the brain. Unfortunately, it's damn near impossible to survive that without a bomb. Again, without a bomb. So, will we get the red brain, or will we... Okay. Probably should use the... Probably should use the brain. Should use the bombs. Alright, this is good bomb. This is a good bomb one to use because it clears those out. I think we should be nearing the end of this boss fight. Yep, that was it. Alright, now if this was the normal difficulty setting, this would be the final boss. And again, the game will tell you, well, I have to tell you, but you haven't unlocked the true ending, beat the game again on a higher difficulty. So yeah, this boss is the reason why normal difficulty isn't even good enough. You have to beat on hard, otherwise you don't unlock this boss. The true final boss of Contra III Alien Wars. Just fire down, use the bomb. Reuse death abuse because bombs are the most devastating weapon you have, and that is it. We have finally beaten Contra III the Alien Wars. Honestly, if not for level 5 or the fact that I'm forced to play the game on the hardest difficulty setting, I don't know if this would be ranked as my favorite Contra game. Pretty close, but it's my least favorite Contra game. Again, not counting the arcade games. There you go, you've conquered the toughest Contra challenge yet. Your heroic deeds have restored peace to a war-torn world. The alien forces have been destroyed by a gaming champion. Your efforts will not be forgotten. Let's see about that. Let's get those views up, people, and also don't forget to share this video, leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe to my video. I greatly appreciate, but show the world that my efforts truly will not be forgotten here. Even though this is my least favorite even though this is my least favorite Contra game in this collection, it is still a really darn good one. I still rate it 8 out of 10. I would rate it as one of my 10 favorite SNES games that I've played. You know, which is a hell of an accomplishment. That's a list that contains games like Earthbound, Link to the Past, Chrono Trigger, and Super Metroid and Super Mario World. The latter being my personal favorite SNES game of all time, by the way. But, so yeah, it's still good company. My least favorite is, calling this my least favorite is like calling Back to the Future 3 my least favorite film in the Back to the Future trilogy. Yeah, it's my least favorite, but it's still a really good one. There is a single dud in this bunch. You know, yeah. If only I didn't have to beat the game on the hardest setting, If only level 5, what the level 5 boss wasn't so horrendous. Otherwise, if it's your favorite Contra game, that's more power to you. I'm not gonna argue with that. This is just my objective feelings for this. Otherwise, this is Mike Gorin, sign out.